Most men believe they're free, but they're not. They wake up already enslaved, chained to their phones, driven by impulses they never chose, ruled by distractions that whisper, "Just one more scroll. Just one more minute." The modern man doesn't need a master. He carries one in his pocket. You think you're in control because you can make choices, but your choices are pre-programmed by habits, emotions, and weakness. You react more than you act. You obey comfort more than command. And every time you let impulse win, your authority dies a little more. The world doesn't reward talent. It rewards control. The disciplined man can build empires with average ability because he directs every ounce of his focus. The talented, undisciplined man wastes his gift in emotional chaos. Power isn't about intelligence or luck. It's about mastery over self. Look at any ruler, conqueror, or CEO who built something lasting. Their secret wasn't motivation. It was domination. They learned to silence the voice that says, "Later, tomorrow, I don't feel like it." They treated their own emotions like servants, not kings. Machiavelli wrote, "The man who masters himself needs no master." He understood that control over others begins with control over one's own impulses. If you cannot command yourself to act when you don't feel like it, you'll always serve someone who can. Every weak decision compounds into a life of mediocrity. Every act of control compounds into a mind others fear. The man who dominates himself becomes untouchable, calm when others panic, focused when others drift, consistent when others quit. That is dangerous discipline, a force that bends reality to will. You don't build this by motivation. You build it by law. Each law is a weapon forged in discomfort and obedience. Each rule reprograms your mind to act without hesitation, without emotion, without mercy toward your own weakness. If you want absolute control over your mind, your body, your destiny, listen carefully. These 12 laws will reshape your discipline into something most men can't comprehend and even fewer can match. Because when you learn to control yourself completely, you'll realize the world belongs to those who can say no to themselves and yes to their mission. Most people fail not because they lack goals, but because they depend on feelings. They wait to feel ready, feel inspired, feel motivated. But emotion is the most unreliable ally you can have. It shifts with the weather, collapses under pressure, and disappears when the real work begins. You quit not because it's hard, but because you believe you shouldn't suffer. You've been conditioned to think discomfort means something's wrong, when in reality, it's the gateway to control. Comfort has rewired your brain to chase dopamine, not results. Every notification, every shortcut feeds your craving for easy pleasure and weakens your instinct for real power. The truth is brutal. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you destroy authority. You teach your mind that your words are worthless. You become a man who commands nothing, not even his own actions. You scroll when you should work, sleep when you should rise, speak when silence would serve better. And deep down, you know it. The undisciplined life feels free, but it's the worst kind of prison. You live reacting, not creating. You become predictable, emotionally soft, and easy to manipulate. The world doesn't fear men who follow impulse. It uses them. Marketers, leaders, and systems profit from your lack of control. They've turned distraction into a weapon, and your attention is the casualty. Look around. Most people are mentally sedated, living in cycles of false urgency and wasted time. They want change but refuse sacrifice. They want greatness without grind. They want power without price. But discipline demands blood, the kind that stains your habits, your schedule, your identity. To rebuild your power, you must become cold, not emotionally, but strategically. Coldness is clarity. It's the ability to act without waiting for permission from emotion. You become the general of your mind, commanding each thought with precision. The path won't be easy, but that's the point. If it were comfortable, it wouldn't build control. If it were easy, everyone would have it. Most people will never walk this road. They'll stay weak, distracted, and loud. But you're here to build something different, something dangerous. Now, we begin the transformation. These are Machiavelli's 12 laws of dangerous discipline. Law 1. Control the first hour. Control the day. The first hour after you wake up is not a routine. It's a declaration of power. It tells your mind who's in charge, you or your weakness. Most men lose the day before it even starts because they wake up reacting. to messages, notifications, and noise. Their first thoughts belong to others. Their focus is hijacked before breakfast. But the disciplined man begins the day as a commander, not a slave. He rises with precision, not comfort. He doesn't reach for the phone. He reaches for control. That first hour sets the tone for everything that follows. Chaos in the morning breeds chaos all day. Order in the morning breeds power. Think of generals, CEOs, and elite performers. Their mornings aren't accidental. They're calculated assaults on weakness. Before the world wakes, they win private battles. Small acts of discipline that build momentum before anyone else even begins. A general doesn't wait for motivation to prepare for war. He follows command. His own command. Your first hour is psychological armor. Every action, the cold shower, the journal, the training, the silence, programs your mind for obedience. It tells your subconscious, I control when I move, when I think, when I feel. When you win that first hour, your mind becomes a weapon instead of a liability. Example. A CEO wakes at 5 a.m., journals for 10 minutes, and enters a deep work block before the world intrudes. By 8 a.m., he's already produced more than most will all day. That's not productivity, it's dominance. It's the invisible advantage of controlled mornings. You can start small, but you must start. Eliminate input. No phone, no scrolling, no noise. Begin the day with output, thought, movement, planning, silence. Command the first 60 minutes like a ritual of control. Application, no input. For the first hour, you consume nothing. No messages, no music. No distraction. Cold activation. Shower cold. Move your body. Force energy through action. Focused output. Write goals. Reflect or work on one mission-critical task. Every morning. You're training one of two identities, the slave or the strategist. The slave reacts. The strategist commands. The first hour is your battlefield. And every act of control there echoes through the rest of your day. When you win the morning, you win the mind. And when you win the mind, the day belongs to you. Law 2. Eliminate comfort, not discomfort. Comfort is the silent executioner of greatness. It doesn't destroy you suddenly. It erodes you quietly, one soft choice at a time, one delayed task, one snooze button. Comfort whispers, you deserve rest. But what it really means is, you deserve weakness. Discipline dies where comfort is worshipped. Every empire, every man, every mission collapses when ease becomes the goal. The instinct to avoid pain, that's what keeps the majority average. They spend their lives building habits to stay comfortable, not powerful. But power requires tension. Strength grows in resistance. The Romans understood this. Even at the height of their empire, soldiers slept on hard ground. They trained under harsh conditions so their minds never softened. They knew luxury makes men fragile, and fragility invites defeat. Modern comfort is more dangerous because it hides behind convenience. You no longer have to fight for survival, but you must now fight for control. The temperature is perfect, the food is instant, the entertainment endless. But that convenience costs you instinct, grit, and mental sharpness. You don't have to abandon comfort, you have to eliminate its control. That's the key. Use it when necessary, but never depend on it. Dependency is slavery dressed in softness. Application. Remove unnecessary ease. Do things the hard way on purpose. Take the stairs. Walk instead of drive. Cook instead of order. Introduce voluntary discomfort. Sleep on the floor once a week. Train early. Fast occasionally. Force your mind to adapt instead of complain. Reset your threshold for pain. When you can function under pressure, fatigue, and inconvenience, you've reclaimed your primal strength. Every act of deliberate hardship reclaims territory in your mind. It tells your subconscious that you're not owned by your environment. You adapt, you overcome, you command. The weak man seeks pleasure first and plans discipline later. The powerful man seeks control first and uses comfort strategically, as recovery, not as lifestyle. When you start to crave the uncomfortable, you separate yourself from 99% of people. Because most men are desperate for comfort, they can be easily manipulated by those who control it. But a man who no longer fears discomfort is ungovernable. He can't be bought, broken, or bribed. Remember this: comfort is not the reward. Control is. The more you eliminate comfort, the stronger your control becomes. And when you master discomfort, you stop negotiating with weakness and start dominating life on your own terms. Law 3. Build pain into routine. Pain is not the enemy. It's the architect of control. Most people run from pain their entire lives, chasing comfort like it's salvation. But every time you avoid pain, you reinforce weakness. Every time you embrace it, you forge strength. Discipline is not born from comfort. It's carved out of discomfort, one difficult repetition at a time. The truth is, pain will find you regardless. It shows up as regret, failure, and wasted potential if you don't face it voluntarily. The disciplined man doesn't wait for pain to arrive. He builds it into his day, so when chaos comes, he's already immune. The elite don't chase motivation. They chase resistance. They train while tired. They work when uninspired. They move when their mind screams to stop. That's how mental calluses are built, not through inspiration, but repetition under strain. Think of the ancient warriors. Spartans trained barefoot on stone. Samurai practiced until their hands bled, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood. When pain becomes routine, fear disappears. Pain stops being emotional and becomes mechanical, a process to endure, not a threat to escape. Example: a man wakes at 5 a.m. when his mind screams to sleep. He showers cold. He lifts when sore. He works through boredom. These moments aren't punishment. They're programming. Each act tells his brain, we move when commanded, not when comfortable. That mindset builds unbreakable self-command. Application: schedule pain daily. Every day insert one act of chosen discomfort, physical, mental, or emotional. It could be a brutal workout, a hard conversation, or extra hours of focus. Track resistance. Each time you complete a painful task, log it. Proof of control compounds confidence, normalize pain. Stop labeling it as bad. It's feedback, data proving you're growing. Pain is the training ground of leaders. When it's familiar, you stop fearing challenge. When it's routine, you become unstoppable. You'll notice that when others panic under pressure, you stay calm. When they quit, you adjust. When they suffer, you operate. That's dangerous discipline, functioning at full command while others break. When pain no longer surprises you, no one can manipulate you. That's why Machiavelli taught rulers to expect hardship, not as punishment, but as preparation. Every day you face pain voluntarily, you gain a layer of armor. Not on your body, but in your mind. And when the mind is armored, no battle can break you. Law 4. Obey your own orders. Discipline begins with one brutal truth. If you can't obey yourself, you can't lead anyone, not even your own life. Most men give orders to themselves they never follow. They say, I'll wake early, but hit snooze. They say, I'll start today, but wait for the mood. Every broken command teaches the subconscious one lesson: your words mean nothing. And a man whose words mean nothing, even to himself, will never command respect. The foundation of dominance is self-obedience. It's not about motivation. It's not about emotion. It's about executing your own orders without negotiation. Think like a general commanding his army. The soldier doesn't argue, reason, or hesitate. He moves. You must become both general and soldier of your life. The general gives direction. The soldier obeys without question. Machiavelli understood this duality. He wrote that rulers maintain control not by promises, but by fear. And the fear you need is not of failure, but of disobedience to yourself. When you fail your own command, you must feel the weight of it, not shame, but consequence. Because without consequence, commands lose meaning. Example: a man decides to rise at 5 a.m. The alarm rings. He hesitates. If he gives in, he trains weakness. If he rises instantly, he trains obedience. That single act, repeated over time, builds internal authority stronger than any external control. By the time most people are awake, he has already executed multiple self-orders. Wake, train, focus, win. Each one compounds trust in himself. Application: write daily orders. Treat your day like a mission briefing. 3 commands only: clear, specific, measurable, execute without negotiation. When the time comes, move instantly. No inner debate. The mind respects movement, not talk. Enforce consequence. If you fail a command, add cost. Extra training, cold exposure, or denied comfort. Discipline grows where failure has a price. Every time you obey your own command, you hardwire certainty. Your mind begins to see your words as law. That's when power shifts. You no longer rely on motivation. You rely on obedience. Most men talk about control. Few have it. They live by emotion, not instruction. But the dangerous man is different. His word is binding. His command is final. When you obey yourself, hesitation dies. When hesitation dies, execution becomes instinct, and when execution becomes instinct, control becomes absolute. Law of 5. Kill emotion in decision-making. Emotion is a powerful trait, but in the hands of the undisciplined, it's a weapon turned against them. Most men let anger, fear, desire, or envy dictate action. They make impulsive decisions, regret them, and wonder why life is unfair. The truth is simple. Uncontrolled emotion is surrender. Machiavelli taught rulers to appear human, but to act with ruthless calculation. To lead, you must separate perception from action. Display emotion if it serves strategy, but never let it infiltrate your judgment. Your inner world must remain a fortress, cold, precise, and untouchable. Example: a negotiator under pressure must resist the urge to react to insults. Most men explode or cave. The disciplined negotiator pauses, analyzes, and responds strategically. The opponent feels the weight of unpredictability. They don't know if the silence is patience or strategy. That uncertainty becomes a tool. Emotion in the wrong hands becomes liability. In disciplined hands, it becomes camouflage. Application: predefine rules before action. Create decision frameworks for recurring situations. Anger, negotiation, conflict. When the trigger occurs, the rule governs, not the impulse. Pause before response. Delay instinctual reaction, even for seconds. Those seconds create the difference between chaos and command. Monitor mental input. Avoid emotional triggers where possible. Toxic media, manipulative people, gossip. Protect your mind like a citadel. The moment you allow emotion to dictate, you surrender control. You react. You stumble. You lose. Discipline is the ability to act from calculation, not impulse. It transforms you from prey into predator, predictable into untouchable. Here's the cruel irony. Most men think emotional honesty equals strength. They wear feelings as badges, unaware that every uncontrolled outburst signals weakness to the world. The disciplined man shows nothing unless it furthers his agenda. Emotion becomes invisible, silent, and lethal, a weapon, not a liability. When you kill emotion in decision-making, you do more than act rationally. You create respect. People notice the unshakable calm. They mirror your restraint, fear your unpredictability, and bow to your authority without realizing it. The 1% who control emotion are the 1% who shape reality. The others remain slaves. Slaves to impulse, environment, and circumstance. Control your emotion. Never let emotion control your control. Every decision executed with cold precision reinforces your dominance. Every impulse restrained reinforces your authority. Law 6. Repetition is the true god of discipline. Discipline is not built in moments of inspiration. It is forged in ritualized repetition, repeated relentlessly until it becomes instinct. Most men think motivation is the engine of progress. They are wrong. Motivation is fleeting. Repetition is permanent. The 1% who dominate life don't rely on feeling inspired. They do the work again and again, regardless of mood, fatigue, or circumstance. Every repetition is a vote for mastery. Every skipped repetition a vote for weakness. The difference between mediocrity and excellence is often hundreds, even thousands, of small repetitions over time. Example: samurai practiced a single sword movement thousands of times, not to become skilled in theory, but to ingrain mastery into muscle, mind, and instinct. When battle arrived, the body acted with precision because the habit was already law. Likewise, your mind obeys repetition, not intention. You are what you repeat, not what you intend. Application: identify 3 non-negotiable habits. Choose actions that compound power: writing, training, planning, meditation. Execute daily without exception. No excuses, no shortcuts. Consistency outweighs intensity. Measure progress. Track repetitions, track results. The evidence of repetition strengthens commitment and reinforces identity. Repetition is mental conditioning. The repeated act of discipline trains your subconscious to follow orders without hesitation. Over time, it eliminates resistance, reduces friction, and automates victory. You don't need to fight each day. Your routines fight for you. Most people believe they are disciplined because they do something occasionally. They aren't. They are inconsistent, reactive, and unreliable, a liability in any high-pressure environment. The disciplined man never forgets. Excellence is habit, not intention. By repeating action without dependence on desire, you free yourself from the tyranny of emotion. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking permission from motivation. Repetition becomes the engine of dominance. Every day, every act, every repetition builds authority. Internal authority first, external influence second. You begin to move through life with inevitability. Others notice not your words, but your consistency. Repetition is merciless, and so is success. The more you repeat, the sharper, faster, and more unshakable you become. The less you repeat, the more fragile and reactive you remain. Remember this: discipline is a ritual, and repetition is the god that enforces it. Law 7. Isolate to dominate. Noise is the enemy of mastery. The world is loud. People, messages, opinions, distractions, all vying for your attention. Most men surrender to it, allowing external chaos to dictate their focus. The disciplined man does not. He understands that solitude is not loneliness, it is a weapon. Isolation breeds clarity, strategy, and unshakable control. It allows you to hear the thoughts others drown out. It lets you plan, reflect, and build habits free from influence. Most people fear being alone because in silence, they meet themselves, their weakness, fear, and lack of discipline. But the dangerous man embraces it. Example: thinkers, writers, and conquerors throughout history isolated themselves to refine power. Machiavelli himself worked in strategic solitude, analyzing human behavior and leadership. Great generals retreated to quiet before battles. Writers, artists, and CEOs schedule blocks of uninterrupted focus to create mastery. The common man is distracted, reactive, and dependent on noise. Application: schedule isolation blocks daily. Dedicate time to focus without people, phones, or distractions. Use silence strategically. Think, plan, write, or meditate during these periods. Treat it as an exercise in sharpening the mind. Learn to enjoy your own company. The moment you can be alone and unshaken, external chaos cannot touch you. Isolation also strengthens discipline indirectly. When others are present, social pressures, expectations, or temptations can compromise routine. Solitude removes these external variables and forces self-reliance. You can no longer hide from responsibility. You are forced to execute your own orders, think clearly, and confront discomfort. Quote-style principle: when you can be alone and unshaken, you've already won. Most men will never seek this. They crave validation, social media likes, or constant chatter. That dependence keeps them weak, predictable, and manipulable. You must reject it. Power grows where dependency dies. By mastering isolation, you sharpen focus, strengthen obedience to self, and develop a mind resistant to manipulation. Silence is not emptiness. It is the foundation of control. The dangerous man knows solitude is a crucible. Those who survive it emerge stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. Noise controls the weak. Isolation empowers the disciplined. Law 8. Use. Discipline as a weapon of power. Discipline is not a virtue reserved for self-improvement books or gym routines. It is a weapon, a strategic advantage over every competitor, colleague, and adversary. Most men think of discipline as personal sacrifice, a burden. The disciplined man knows it is a tool of dominance. Every act of control creates leverage. While others crumble under fatigue, distraction, or temptation, you remain calm, focused, and relentless. Discipline turns endurance into intimidation. It communicates silently: I can endure more than you. I can act when you cannot. That unspoken power is the most dangerous kind. Example: consider a negotiator, athlete, or CEO. When the room grows tense, others panic. Fatigue sets in. Impulses erupt. They react poorly. The disciplined man, however, executes one step further, reading the room, pushing the deal, training another hour, or thinking one level ahead. His consistency under pressure signals dominance without a word. Others notice. Competitors collapse. Allies trust. Authority grows. Application: push one level further than others. When they stop, you continue, in work, training, or preparation. Small increments of endurance compound into massive advantage. Turn personal discipline into professional leverage. Your punctuality, preparation, and persistence create credibility and fear. Remain consistent under stress. While most falter when challenged, your reliability signals power, not weakness. Discipline is not passive, it is aggressive. It is the quiet predator stalking mediocrity. Every extra hour of preparation, every repeated habit, every calculated restraint creates a battlefield advantage that most never perceive until it is too late. The undisciplined man cannot compete. He reacts emotionally, makes poor decisions, and fails under pressure. The disciplined man controls the outcome before it begins. He doesn't need luck or motivation. He has execution as his ally. 1% who master discipline wield it not for self-satisfaction, but for dominance. They understand that personal strength is inseparable from external influence. Every action, ritual, and sacrifice is a move on the board, silently asserting their advantage while others remain blind. Discipline becomes power when it is strategic, consistent, and ruthless. Use it to outperform, outlast, and outmaneuver. When you turn routine into weaponized mastery, the world bends. Fatigue becomes opportunity. Resistance becomes leverage. Weakness becomes your stage. Discipline is your silent army, unseen, unchallenged, unstoppable. Those who underestimate it fall. Those who master it conquer. Law 9. Control input, control output. Your mind becomes what it consumes. Every message, video, conversation, or thought you allow in shapes your reality, your focus, and your decisions. Most men are passive recipients, scrolling, listening, and absorbing everything without strategy. They let noise govern their mind. They feed weakness. Control begins with input. The undisciplined man fills his mind with gossip, distractions, and shallow entertainment. He wonders why his productivity, clarity, and influence stagnate. The disciplined man, however, is selective. He curates mental diet as a king curates advisors. Only information that sharpens, educates, or empowers is allowed. Example: leaders, generals, and elite performers block out trivial content. They avoid gossip, emotional clickbait, and meaningless conversation. Instead, they focus on strategy, reflection, and purposeful consumption. They understand that the mind cannot execute control over the world if it is cluttered internally. Output, what you produce, is equally critical. Unfiltered input leads to weak output. Disorganized consumption creates weak action. Discipline requires alignment between what you take in and what you give out. The man who controls his mind controls his results. Application: audit your mental diet. Eliminate random videos, social media, toxic people, and gossip. Replace with strategy, study, and silence. Prioritize high-value input. Books, expert advice, reflection, tactical media. Everything must serve your mission. Monitor output. Every action, conversation, and creation must reflect clarity, focus, and power. Weak input equals weak output. Strong input equals dominance. Principle: guard your attention as kings guard their thrones. Most people live under the tyranny of passive input. Their attention is stolen daily, leaving them exhausted, reactive, and irrelevant. But a man who controls what he consumes and how he acts becomes untouchable. He decides where energy flows, mental and physical, while others are puppets of distraction. This law is not subtle. It is not passive. Control input, and you control thought. Control thought, and you control action. Control action, and you control outcomes. The world rewards those who can think clearly when everyone else panics. It bends to those who decide what is worthy of attention and what is not. Your mind is the throne. Your focus is the army. Guard both relentlessly. Law 10. Turn routine into ritual. Discipline without meaning is merely mechanical. Routine becomes powerful only when it carries symbolic weight, transforming mundane action into a ritual of dominance. Most men perform tasks to survive the day: wake, work, eat, sleep, without consciousness. They are reactive, unrefined, and forgettable. Ritual transforms discipline into a psychological weapon. When an action becomes sacred, skipping it is unthinkable. The mundane becomes inviolable. Every movement gains power because it signals a commitment deeper than convenience. This is how elite performers maintain consistency even when motivation disappears. Example: consider a CEO who views the morning coffee not as a caffeine fix, but as a ceremony of preparation. Each sip is a declaration: I am awake, I am aware, I am ready. Or the athlete who treats every workout as an initiation. Each repetition a symbolic conquest over weakness. The act itself carries meaning, and meaning creates unbreakable adherence. Application: assign symbolic meaning to daily actions. Transform simple tasks into markers of commitment. Journaling, exercise, planning, meditation. Treat rituals as inviolable. Your morning, your focus blocks, or your preparation sessions are sacred. Break them only under calculated necessity. Reinforce identity through ritual. Each act is a declaration. You are disciplined, unshakable, and in command. Ritual is psychological armor. It removes debate, hesitation, and weakness. When the mind perceives significance, consistency becomes effortless. A man who turns routine into ritual no longer negotiates with himself. He acts because the act itself demands obedience. Most people mistake routine for habit and fail. Habit without meaning is fragile. It crumbles under pressure, distraction, or fatigue. Ritual withstands every test. It is deliberate, purposeful, and unstoppable. Quote-style principle: when your actions feel holy, consistency becomes natural. By elevating your routine to ritual, you signal to yourself and the world that discipline is not optional, it is law. Others may falter when motivation wanes, but you move with certainty because ritual is embedded in your identity. This is the difference between those who drift and those who dominate. Routine creates action. Ritual creates authority. And authority is the ultimate currency in a world where most men serve their impulses. Law 11. Use controlled reactions to command respect. People fear what they cannot predict. That fear is power, silent, invisible, and absolute. Most men react instinctively to every insult, challenge, or provocation. They speak too soon, show emotion too quickly, and allow their impulses to reveal weakness. The disciplined man does not. He controls his reactions, and in doing so, controls perception itself. Controlled reaction is not suppression, it is strategy. You do not reveal your hand until it serves your agenda. You measure, pause, and execute only when action maximizes effect. Silence becomes armor. Delay becomes intimidation. The world begins to respect your unpredictability because your restraint signals mastery. Example: consider a Machiavellian leader negotiating a hostile deal. The opponent shouts, insults, or threatens. Most would retaliate emotionally, jeopardizing the outcome. The controlled leader, however, pauses, observes, and responds with precision. Every word and action is deliberate. The opponent is unsettled, unsure how the leader will act next, and instinctively respects the calm authority. Application: delay your reaction. In conflict or provocation, pause before speaking or acting. Even a few seconds of silence creates psychological advantage. Observe first, act second. Analyze behavior, tone, and context. Your response should maximize leverage, not satisfy impulse. Use silence strategically. Absence of reaction communicates dominance. People are uncomfortable when their provocation fails to elicit expected behavior. Controlled reactions extend beyond confrontation. They shape how others perceive your emotional reliability. A man who is predictable in thought but unpredictable in emotional display is respected because he is unbreakable. His calm signals confidence. His restraint signals authority. Most men misunderstand emotional honesty as strength. They express anger, frustration, or fear openly. In doing so, they relinquish control. The disciplined man understands. Strength is measured by what is withheld, not what is shown. When you master your reactions, you create fear, respect, and influence without aggression. Your opponents second guess, your allies trust, and your presence alone commands the room. Teaching principle: people fear what they cannot predict. Controlled reaction transforms vulnerability into weaponized influence. Every pause, every measured word, every calm in chaos reinforces your authority. The 1% who master this law are untouchable. The 99% who act impulsively remain weak, exposed, and manipulable. Control your reactions, and the world bends subtly but irrevocably to your will. Law 12. Discipline the mind before the body. The mind is the battlefield. The body is the weapon. Most men focus on physical strength, gym, endurance, appearance, while neglecting the greater battlefield, the mind. A strong body without a disciplined mind is a fragile fortress. Mental mastery precedes physical mastery. Control the mind and the body follows. Neglect the mind and the body obeys weakness. The dangerous man trains the mind first. He silences chaos, sharpens focus, and conquers distraction before he lifts a weight, runs a mile, or negotiates a deal. Mental discipline allows clarity in crisis, composure under fire, and dominance in every arena. Physical acts, then, become extensions of a prepared mind, not reactions of an ungoverned body. Example: ancient warriors meditated before battle to still fear, sharpen strategy, and visualize outcomes. CEOs reflect and journal before action to anticipate obstacles and maintain clarity. Athletes practice mental visualization and focus drills to execute under pressure. The body obeys what the mind commands. Untrained, it falters. Application: meditate daily. Even 10-20 minutes of focused meditation builds awareness, emotional control, and attention. Journal and reflect. Write daily observations, victories, failures, and lessons. Mental clarity compounds over time. Train focus under stress. Practice performing tasks while fatigued, distracted, or pressured to build mental resilience. Principle: the man who controls his thoughts commands the world. Every distraction you remove, every impulse you resist, every thought you direct intentionally strengthens the invisible architecture of your power. Mental discipline is the foundation for all other laws, from controlled reaction to ruthless consistency. Without it, physical acts, routines, and rituals are hollow shells. Most men act under impulse, guided by emotion and circumstance. They overtrain the body, undertrain the mind, and fail when chaos arrives. The disciplined man inverts this hierarchy. Mind first, body second. Thought dictates action. Strategy dictates execution. When the mind is mastered, obstacles become opportunities, resistance becomes predictable, and challenges lose power. The body becomes a loyal instrument, performing without question because the brain commands obedience. True dangerous discipline starts internally. Everything else is derivative. The man who masters his mind is untouchable, unshaken by hardship, unmanipulable by others, unstoppable in execution. Your mind is your kingdom. Rule it with iron, command it with clarity, and the world will bow to your authority. You have seen the truth. Discipline is not optional. It is the weapon that separates the weak from the untouchable. Most men live as slaves to impulse, habit, and emotion. They chase motivation like a fleeting shadow and surrender control at the slightest discomfort. You now stand at the threshold of something few ever achieve: absolute, dangerous discipline. These 12 laws are not suggestions. They are commands to yourself, rules to transform the chaotic, reactive man into a strategic, unshakable force. Control your first hour. Eliminate comfort. Build pain into your routine. Obey your own orders. Kill emotion in decisions. Repeat relentlessly. Isolate strategically. Wield discipline as power. Control your input. Turn routine into ritual. Command respect through controlled reaction, and discipline the mind before the body. Each law builds upon the last, creating a fortress of dominance, invisible to others, unbreakable to yourself. The man who applies these principles does not hope for success. He enforces it. Every choice, every action, every moment becomes deliberate. He moves while others hesitate. He executes while others procrastinate. He endures when others quit. That is the nature of dangerous discipline. It is predictable in execution, unpredictable to those around you. Transformation is not subtle. You will feel resistance, discomfort, and isolation. That is the crucible of mastery. Most men will quit before reaching this stage. That is why the 1% who follow these laws stand above the rest. They do not negotiate with weakness. They destroy it. They do not hope to succeed. They engineer it. Now you must act. Knowledge without action is illusion. Begin today. Command your first hour, embrace pain, obey your own rules, and sharpen your mind relentlessly. These actions compound invisibly, silently building the foundation of control over your life, your environment, and every interaction you encounter. Remember this: control is not the goal, it is the weapon. The world bows not to talent, emotion, or luck. It bows to the man who owns himself. Every act of discipline, every delayed gratification, Every ritualized routine is a stake in the kingdom of your power. If you apply even a fraction of what you've learned, you will feel it. The shift is subtle at first. Calm in chaos, clarity in confusion, influence where others falter. And the more you enforce these laws, the more the world begins to bend to your authority without a single word. Comment below with which law you will implement first. The 1% who act will separate themselves from the rest. Like this video if you are ready to refuse weakness and embrace control permanently. Subscribe and join the ranks of those who do not live reactively, but dominate strategically. You are no longer a man drifting through life. You are a strategist, a commander, a force to be reckoned with. The kingdom that matters most, yourself, is now yours to rule. The world will bend to your discipline, but only if you enforce it relentlessly. The 1% do not negotiate. They dominate. It is your turn. Command, control, conquer.